Fighting games move fast. For the average player, they can oftentimes be little more than a free-for-all mash fest, with scarce time to register your character's movement, much less respond to your opponents. But for an expert, things begin to slow down. Minute wind-ups and frame data telegraph attacks, trajectories become predictable at the moment of launch, and the path to victory from a stray hit is obvious, even guaranteed. While the novice match plays out like, well, a real fight, sudden and clumsy, competitive skirmishes are like chess. It's a whole different experience, locked behind skill. But what if we could make that kind of moment-to-moment awareness available to everyone? What if we could just slow things down a bit? Like this. Well, this just won't do. Where's the intensity, the breakneck pace, the fists flying? Where is the... Your only move is hustle, or YOMI for short. 6 out of 10 as acronyms go, I'm just gonna call it hustle. Is a real-time, turn-based, genuinely bonkers combat simulator. Put simply, it's fighting game chess, except the pawns are punches, the bishops are roundhouse kicks, the queens an instant KO, and the rooks are, well, I've exhausted my metaphor. Whether you're playing on your own or against a fellow hustler, fights contain 2 phases. First, you duke it out in bursts of fluid 2D action, choosing moves on simultaneous turns. Say, you want to start the match off with a quick swipe. On your end, you get a short visual of your hit and the seconds that follow, assuming the opponent takes it lying down. But unbeknownst to you, they plan to block. This is what they see. When you're both ready, the turn resolves, and the fight goes on. Maybe you succeed, and get a few turns all to yourself to build up a combo. Maybe they perfectly parry your predictable strike and cut you off with a slash of their own. Common features of fighters like end lag and hit stun get simplified down to more or less frequent turns, making combos a matter of time rather than coordination. This combat continues step by tiny step until someone, hopefully you, comes out the victor. Then, we do it all again. In real time. Your duel is played back as a smooth, cinematic fight scene with no pauses for thought and no awkward fumbling. It looks effortless. It looks straight out of the fucking movies. And you did that. Just on your own time. This mechanic makes combat infinitely more rewarding. Any excitement over a particularly strong combo, or any disappointment at being on its receiving end, is transformed into anticipation. You know that no matter what happens, it will look incredible. And replays are instantly savable post-game, so you can keep a visual record of your fight in its most charitable form. I cannot understate how much the contrast between these two, the method and the result, does to make YOMI stand out. The setup replay dynamic also enables a novel single-player mode. Usually, private one-on-ones require 2 persons, or at the very least, a half-baked AI bot on one end. You just can't be 2 places at once. Now with Hustle, you can be everywhere. Single-player 1v1s throw out the elements of strategy and prediction in favor of a genuine knack for fight design. You will very quickly notice how addicting it can be to just choreograph scenes, pacing and directing the combat like a second-hand animator, especially when you have immediate access to the results of your work. Look, you made this. Maybe that's not competitive exactly, but it sure looks cool. Better than fumbling against a bot, anyway. This is an entirely new angle of engagement that is both alien to and a natural progression of fighting games as games. You take a step back. I will say, the game does have its shortcomings, mostly by way of it being so small. The small player base means that the multiplayer system is pretty choked, although features like beginner and private lobbies ensure that no outgroup is completely hung out to dry. Might have some trouble if you live in Oceania, though. Its size also gives it a small roster and several performance issues. However, these are easily modded away. As you add more mods, performance goes down, roster goes up. Players are welcome to take that balance into their own hands. Beyond the novelty of the gameplay, Hustle's structure affords loads of interesting opportunities. Fighters with outside characters like Smash or Marvel vs. Capcom often struggle with adaptation, and that's not because of a licensing. Characters designed for a different setting naturally abide by different rules, aesthetic choices, and combat styles. So, do you rework their design to fit the fighting game's roster? Do you adhere to the source material and compromise some of your game's artistic identity? Or, like Smash, do you abandon that identity altogether for pure variety? It's a tough choice to be sure, but Hustle circumvents that decision with its oversimplified 32-bit style, a literal flattening effect, and its emphasis on movement. Every fighter is a silhouette, characterized more so by their mechanics and effects than any invasive aesthetic. The pacing also invites the addition of guest characters often excluded from or oversimplified in other 2D fighters due to over-the-top or complex combat, with a roster full of manga, film, and pop culture icons feeling right at home. Mind you, much of this is modding. The base game is admittedly pretty bare bones, but if the game natively boasted a roster this broad, it might struggle to hold down its own style. Instead, Hustle opts to make mod integration seamless and easy, welcoming roster diversity at the player's pace. More than anything, that's what YOMI offers: accessibility. It invites all kinds of characters, strategies, and players. If you're a fighting game pro, you'll revel in the game's complex movement and comprehensive prediction features. If you're closer to the rest of us, you can make use of the ability to visualize and slowly assess your many options, all just a click away, no inputs needed. If you've never played a fighting game, you can come at Hustle from the angle of turn-based strategy, or choreography, or hell, even rock, paper, scissors, if we're stretching things. Sure, all these playstyles have their own sectioned-off subgenres and niche games, but if you want them all in the same place, and with style, then you've only got one choice. Your only move is Hustle.